Okay, in this lesson, we're going to multiply and divide rational numbers. So we're going to bring in those concepts, those rules of multiplying and dividing integers, as well as multiplying and dividing fractions and decimals. So there is a lot of computation in this lesson. And again, no calculators and using the pause button when needed. So the product or quotient when signs are the same is always positive. So if we multiply two numbers that have the same sign, we get a positive product. If we divide numbers that have the same sign, we get a positive quotient. The product or quotient when signs are different is always negative. So these rules are pretty easy to remember. So we have a positive times a negative, we're going to get a negative product, and when we divide two numbers with opposite signs, we're going to get a negative quotient. Now, when multiplying decimals, we need to justify the numbers. That means just move all the digits to the right. No need to worry about where the decimal place is. Multiply using the standard algorithm, which is from right to left. Then we're going to count how many numbers are behind the decimal in both numbers. And this count is how many numbers are needed behind the decimal point in the answer. Then we're going to apply the multiplication integer rules, where if we have the same sign, we get a positive product, and we have different signs, we get a negative. So in example number 1, signs are different, so we know we'll get a negative answer. We are going to write our numbers neatly, and we're going to multiply. So I justified everything to the right. We're going to multiply by the 7 first. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 2 is 30. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 3 is 38. We're going to put a 0 down here as a space holder, and now we're going to start with a 3, and our answer starts right under the 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12, carry your 1. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16. We're going to add these from right to left. I'm going to come up here, and we're going to have 1 plus 0 is 1. 0 plus 9 is 9. 8 plus 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 6 plus 3 plus 1 is 10. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. We have 1, 2, 3 spaces behind the decimal. 1, 2, 3. So we have negative 20.091. Example number 5, we have a negative times a negative, so our product is positive. Seven times 4 is 28. 7 times 8 is 56, plus 2 is 58. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 5 is 12. Bring down a 0. Now we start with a 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 1 is 33. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. And again, we need to be neat. 8 plus 0 is 8. 8 plus 6 is 14, carry your 1. 2 plus 3 plus 1 is 6. And 1 plus 7 is 8. And now let's count the decimal places. So we have 1 and 2. So it's 1 and 2. So 86.48, and it is positive. Okay, now let's take a look at dividing decimals. So when dividing decimals, divide the dividend by the divisor. A little trick, or is to say top in the box, the top number goes inside the box. So the dividend is in the numerator and it comes under inside the symbol. So this top number goes here and the divisor is on the outside. Then we're going to move the decimal of the divisor until it becomes a whole number. It may already start out being a whole number, but if not, we have to make the divisor be a whole number and apply this count to the dividend as well. So if our divisor is not whole, we move the decimal until it is, and then we move that same count in the dividend. Then we apply the division integer rules, which is the same as multiplication. Same sign, we get a positive quotient. Different signs, we get a negative quotient. So we have a negative divided by negative. Our quotient is going to be positive. So our dividend goes inside the box. Our divisor is on the outside. I'm not going to worry about my signs because I already know the end result is positive. And now this divisor needs to be a whole number, so I'm going to move the decimal 1 to make it 12, so I have to move it in the dividend as well. So that's going to move over, and our decimal is going to be straight up here now. So it's really 12 divided into 84, and it goes 7 whole times. So our final answer is just positive 7. You do not need to put 0.0. Number 7, we are going to have a negative quotient because we have different signs. Again, we're going to have 1.2 divided into 24.6. We are going to move the decimal 1 place over so that this is now a whole number. So we have to move it in the dividend as well. So it is moved behind the 6 and then straight up. So now we have 12 divided into 246. 12 goes into 24 2 times, right above the 4, 2 times 12. We're going to subtract, bring down the 6. 12 goes into 6 0 times. Bring down a 0. 12 into 60 is 5. And our final answer is negative 20.5. Okay, now you practice these problems showing all your work, not using a calculator, and then we will move to the next section of this lesson. So now we're going to take a look at multiplying fractions. So when multiplying fractions, multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. So this is very simple. Less calculation than adding and subtracting fractions. Then apply the multiplication integer rules. Same sign. We're going to get a positive product. Different signs, we get a negative product. So number 8, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. And now we just multiply numerators, denominators, and then simplify to positive 1/4. Number 9, we have a mixed times a proper fraction. So I'm just going to convert this to improper. Our answer is going to be negative because a negative times a positive yields a negative product. 5 times 1 plus 4 is 9/5 times 2/3. So we simply have negative 18/15. We can convert this We can simplify first by a factor of 3. And then if we want to convert it to mixed, we get -1 and 1/5. Very easy. Now let's take a look at when we are dividing. Again, not as many calculations as adding and subtracting fractions. So when dividing fractions, change the multiplication to division. And then reciprocate or flip. Reciprocate is the mathematical term. The second term. So the numerator and denominator get switched around on the second term. Then we're going to apply the multiplication rules of integers. So dividing does turn into multiplication. We keep the first fraction, we change the division to multiplication, and then we reciprocate or flip around the second term. So this will become, so we have -1/3 times -6/5. Okay, so then we will apply the multiplication integer rules. Same sign, we're going to get a positive answer. Different signs, we get a negative. So when we have dividing, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, is how we say that mathematically. Keep, change, reciprocate. And now we have a negative times a negative, so we have a positive. 1 times 6 is 6. 3 times 5 is 15. They each have a common factor of 3, so that simplifies to 2/5. Number 11, we have a negative divided by a positive, so we have a negative quotient. I'm going to first convert these to improper. 5 times 1 plus 2 divided by 2 times 4 plus 1. Now we will apply where we keep the first term, change division to multiplication, and reciprocate the second term, and then multiply straight across to get -14/45. So keep, change, reciprocate. Dividing fractions is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, now you pause the video and practice these problems with no calculator.